We'll be going deeper and giving more details on organizational behavior. We'll be looking at why organizations are the way they are, why people who work in these organizations also behave the way they do, the reasons behind their behavior, and the effects and how it eventually plays out within the organization. So first and foremost, I'd like us to look at our learning objectives. By the end of this lesson, of this session, participants will be able to define the concepts in organizational behavior. They'll be able to review the theories of organizational behavior and their significance. They'll be able to elaborate organizational diagnosis. They'll be able to analyze workplace dynamics, including leadership styles, communication patterns, and approaches to conflict resolution. And we'll all be able to explain organizational culture and discuss communication in organization. So by way of introduction, I'd like to start by saying that people perform their roles within complex systems called organizations. The study of organizational behavior focuses on the people within the context of their organizations, analyzing and understanding what they do, how they do it, and the factors that affect their behavior. You will agree with me that people behave in a certain way, but ultimately there is a factor that affects why they behave, why they do what they do. If you are very observant, you will notice that in different organizations, different kinds of behaviors exist. Now, what differentiates the behavior within one organization and another organization is what reflects their organizational behavior. So the aim of this class this afternoon is to provide the basis for developing human resource policies and practices which will lead to improved organizational capability and behavior. So let's quickly define organizational behavior. Lady Christie tried very well to give us a very concise description of organizational behavior. Now, I'd like to share that organizational behavior is the study of how individuals, groups, and structures affect and are affected by the behavior within their organizations. Like yesterday, we were discussing in this class, and we talked about the difference between private hospitals and government hospitals in terms of their behavior. Did anybody remember that? We are able to agree that the behavior of the government, of the workers in government hospitals are not as nice as that of those in the private hospitals. And somebody in this class, I think either Mr. Emmanuel or Mr. Lubenge, one of them said that it's because those in the private hospitals are being trained differently. So it is because of stuff like that that we are studying this concept called organizational behavior. So organizational behavior describes how people within the organizations act individually or in groups, and how organizations function in terms of their structure, processes, and culture. Organizational behavior aims to improve an organization's effectiveness by understanding and managing human behavior in a work environment. I don't know how many of you have read the book, Why You Act the Way You Do. I think that book is by Tim and Beverly Lahaye. So people act in certain ways. If you have read the book, you can chat, you can respond in the chat room. Our chat room is our major means of communication. So we need to understand that people act and behave in certain ways and usually it is because of several factors, mostly within their environment. Organizational behavior encompasses a wide range of topics, including motivation, leadership, team dynamics, communication, organizational culture, and change management. Yes, Lady Christie, I've not met you physically, but I like you already. All right, let's talk about characteristics of organizational behavior. We'll be looking at several characteristics of organizational behavior. We have to know first and foremost that organizational behavior is multidisciplinary, which means it combines psychology, it combines anthropology, sociology, and management. It also talks about human behavior because it focuses on how individuals behave and also how the group within the organization behave. Organizational behavior sees organizations as interdependent systems, which means they are not just on their own. Other factors affect the organizations. Organizational behavior aims to also achieve organizational goals because the way the people behave within an organization will determine eventually what they would achieve. Organizational behavior is also dynamic, which means it has a constantly evolving nature. Organizational behavior is also scientific, which means there is a lot of research and data analysis involved in understanding the behavior of individuals and groups within an organization. Organizational behavior also considers economic, cultural, and technological impacts, which are the external influences that affect organizational behavior. It's also interpersonal, which means it examines relationships and interactions between individuals and between groups. It also studies change and development. Now we'll be looking at key aspects of organizational behavior, one after the other. Let's look at individual behavior. Remember, in our definition of organizational behavior, we emphasize that organizational behavior has a lot to do with the study of individuals and then groups and then the structures that affect behavior within organizations. So let's look at the key aspect. The first key aspect is individual. The individuality involved. Number one, personality. Organizational behavior helps you to understand how individual traits influence behavior and performance. Yesterday, we talked about a theory, and we called it was called the McGregor's theory X and Y and theory Y. And most of us in this class said that we all belong to the theory Y group. But you would see that the theory X, people who fall into that theory X will certainly behave in a different way and ultimately get a different result. In the same vein, people who also behave in accordance to theory Y will eventually have a different result because their individual traits influence their behavior and also influence their performance. Perception. How do individuals interpret and make sense of their environment? Do they see their organization as a place that supports growth? Or do they see it as a place that is survival of the fittest? There are many organizations that everybody is like in a rat race, there is high level of competitiveness. Everybody is trying to frustrate the other person so that they can take over their position. But there's another organization that the organizational behavior, everybody is trying to support each other. because they see themselves as a team. So, how individuals interpret and make sense of their environment will eventually affect their behavior. Another one is motivation. What are the forces that drive individuals to achieve their goals? Is it just to meet targets? Is it just because of the money? Or is there high level of employee engagement like we learned yesterday? Next, how individuals acquire skills, knowledge, and attitudes also affect individual behavior. Another one is attitudes and job satisfaction. How positive or negative evaluations of job aspects affect behavior. So, now that we have looked at individual behavior, let's also take a look at group behavior. Remember, we said that for us to understand organizational behavior, we'll be taking a look at both individual behavior and group behavior and organizational structure. Now, team dynamics. How do groups form, interact, and function within the environment? Do they have a clique system, or are groups formed based on areas of interest or areas of competence? What is the means of communication? What is the process of exchanging information, and what is its impact on the group cohesion? Because when you come into an organization where there is no cohesion within the group, it is easy to know. People are backbiting each other. People are slandering each other, making sure that one person fails so that the other person can rise up. What is that culture? What is responsible for the organizational behavior? We must not fail to mention that organizational behavior will ultimately affect the organization as a whole. The growth of any organization has a lot to do with the organizational behavior existing within that organization. It affects the leadership styles too. The traits, the behaviors, all of this influence group performance. Power and politics. How can we remove the aspect of politics? Wherever human beings are gathered, you would eventually see politics thriving. So how does power dynamics and political behavior affect group decision making? Everybody may agree to do a certain thing, and then at the end of the day, a particular group who have more influence, who have more political power, might upturn the whole thing. Next is conflict and negotiation. When we are talking about group behavior, we need to study how the strategies for managing and resolving conflicts within groups. Remember, we're talking about the key aspects of organizational behavior. We have talked about individual behavior. We have talked about group behavior. Now let's talk about organizational structure. What is the design and complexity? When we talk about design and complexity, we refer to how organizational design influences behavior and performance. The structure of an organization will determine if the people there will behave in a certain way, if they will eventually perform in a certain way. All of these things, we are going to be looking at them in real details. Now, what are the roles and responsibilities assigned to be employees within the organization? Because another key aspect of organizational behavior is the roles and responsibility under organizational structure. How defined roles and responsibility impact employee behavior. There are people that when they are given positions of authority, they can't manage it well. However, there are people who manage theirs well, and as a result, it ends up in improved productivity within that organization. That brings us to hierarchy and authority. The impact of organizational hierarchy on behavior and decision making are the things that are under this organizational structure. Having looked at the key aspects of organizational structure, we have two more to go. The next one is organizational culture. So we have said that key aspects of organizational behavior are: number one, individual behavior; number two, group behavior; number three, organizational structure; and then number four, organizational culture. And under culture, we must know that values and norms are key aspects of this, which explains to us the shared beliefs and norms that shape behavior within an organization. Organizational climate is the overall atmosphere and the environment within the organization. Change, when we talk about change and innovation, we're explaining how culture affects the organization's ability to adapt and innovate. Now, let's talk about the fifth key aspect of organizational behavior, which is organizational processes. When we talk about processes, what do we mean? Example is the process of decision making, how decisions are made, and who participates in the process. Yesterday, when we're talking about employee engagement, we said that it is essential that employees are carried along in the decision-making process. That way, it creates vision ownership. They are able to own whatever assignments that is placed before them, and they can carry it out effectively. Another aspect of organizational processes is communication. What are the channels? And what are the effectiveness of the communication channels within the organization? Another aspect is performance management, systems and processes for evaluating and maintaining employee performance. Then we also have to talk about the strategies for managing organizational change and development. Now, having shared with you the key aspects of organizational behavior, can you help me type in the chat room so that I'm sure that I was able to carry you along? What are the 5 key aspects of organizational behavior? I kept saying them over and over, and I'm sure that you were able to grasp on a few of them. Let me know in the chat room that you were able to get this. All right. So while you're doing that, let's talk about the importance of organizational behavior. Why is it important? Why does it even matter? Why are we studying organizational behavior as human resource management professionals? Number one, it is important because it helps to improve productivity. Understanding what motivates employees and how to enhance their performance is key. Without understanding organizational behavior, there is no way you can improve the productivity of people, of employees, of staff who work in your organization. Another benefit of organizational behavior is that it will also enhance employee satisfaction, because it will help you as a human resource management professional to create a positive work environment that increases job satisfaction and reduces turnover. It also helps in effective leadership, because developing leaders who can inspire, it will help to develop leaders who can inspire and guide teams to achieve organizational goals. It will also help in better teamwork by promoting collaboration and effective communication within teams. It will also help in adaptability by helping organizations and employees adapt to change and innovation. It will also assist in conflict resolution by providing tools and strategies to manage and resolve conflicts effectively. Thank you, Lady Christy. I see your comments: individual behavior, group behavior, organizational behavior. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Two more. There are two more that you left out, but three will suffice for now. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the factors that affect organizational behavior. Number one is that the characteristics of the people at work. What do we mean by this? Individual differences. Their attitudes, their personality, their attributions, their orientations, and the roles they play will eventually affect the organizational behavior. Imagine an organization where you have plenty sanguines. What do you think will happen there? Have a lot of high emotions, people, happy people, cheerful people. But when they are angry, they can be very combustible too. If you have a group of melancholy employees, hey, for a better part of it, your organization might be looking like a graveyard, yet there will be a lot of innovation and creativity because in their silence, their mind is working. So the characteristics of the people at work is important. And if you have a lot of cholerics, well, you will get jobs done. You will meet targets. But then there will be captains, many captains in the ship. And there is need for a lot of chain of command and hierarchy so that nobody takes over, um, nobody breaks rank in leadership. So that's the major factor that affects organizational behavior. Another thing that affects organizational behavior is how people are motivated. Are they motivated or demotivated? It will certainly affect organizational behavior. And that one, the process of employee engagement. Do employees feel engaged or everybody just does what they feel like doing? Or they feel they have a nonchalant atmosphere? This will affect organizational behavior. The next one will be the process of organizational commitment, how organizations function, and organizational culture, as we have already mentioned. And let's look at the theories of organizational behavior. These theories have been grouped into two major groups: the variance theories and the process theories. Please don't forget this. Under the variance theories, we have other types of theories. We have other examples of theories. Under the process theories, we have other examples of theories. I'll be sharing those in a moment. But I'd like you to know that variance theory explains the causes of organizational behavior by reference to the independent or causal variables, which cause a change and result in dependent variables, the outcome of this change. So variance theories involve the definition and precise measurement of these variables. You will understand that soon. While the process theories explain organizational behavior by producing narratives which provide probable explanations of the outcomes of a series of events. So what we're trying to say is that in variance theories, its major focus is to examine relationship between variables in order to predict outcomes. While in the process theories, the focus is on producing narratives that explain why things are happening, why people behave in the way they behave, why the result is the way it is. Okay? So let's look at these theories one after the other. Variance theories. Examples of variance theories are Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We talked about this yesterday. How many of you still have the paper where you drew the triangle I asked you to draw yesterday for the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So we have the physiological needs, we have the safety needs, we have the needs of belongingness, then we have self-esteem needs, and then we have the self-actualization needs. That explains the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That the needs at the base, that is the physiological needs, will have to be met before an individual will aspire to meet the other needs, like the safety needs and the rest of that. So the Maslow's hierarchy of needs explains motivation through a hierarchy of needs. Now, the Herzberg's two-factor theory is a theory that distinguishes between motivators and hygiene factors. So yesterday we talked about this, and we said that there are hygiene factors and there are motivating factors. And how do you apply this? These various theories are useful for identifying factors that influence employee behavior and performance. While the process theories explain how and why certain behaviors occur over time. Examples of the process theories are the Vroom's expectancy theory. The Vroom's expectancy theory describes how effort, performance, and rewards are linked. Another example of the process theory is Adams' equity theory, which focuses on fairness in workplace exchanges. In order to apply this to organizational behavior, it helps us to understand the cognitive processes behind motivation and decision making. Why do people act the way they act? Why do they do what they do? Why do they behave in a certain way within the organization? So what is the significance of these organizational behavior theories? The significance is that all managers and human resource specialists are in the business of influencing behavior in directions that will meet business needs. Also, an understanding of organizational processes and skills in the analysis and diagnosis of organizational behavior is therefore important. How is it important? It is important in predicting outcomes. It is important in designing incentive programs. It is important in improving job design. It helps managers to predict employee behavior and performance based on various factors. It also helps to understand what motivates employees. Is it recognition? Is it reward? Is it salary? Is it compensation? Which of these? And then you know which of these that can improve job satisfaction and productivity. It also assists in creating effective incentive and reward systems. Using the Herzberg's two-factor theory, managers can ensure both motivators and hygiene factors are addressed. It also informs the development of roles and responsibilities to enhance employee motivation and performance. When you apply the Maslow's hierarchy of needs to ensure jobs provide opportunities for personal growth and self-fulfillment. Because there are people who do certain things, not just because they are looking for basic needs, not just because they are looking for security, but also because it could be because they just want to have a healthy self-esteem. If I ask some of us in this class, why are we in this class? Some might be in this class to get certified so that they can improve their chances of promotion. Others might just be in this class just for the pleasure of knowing more, understanding more, having more knowledge. Some others are in this class just as because they want to improve their self-esteem. So people have different reasons why they do what they do, and this influences organizational behavior. It also helps in understanding employee motivation. It provides insight into how and why employees are motivated. Let's take a look at the Vroom's expectancy theory that helps managers understand the link between effort, performance, and rewards, ensuring that employees are motivated by achievable goals and desirable rewards. It also ensures fair treatment of employees, which is critical for maintaining morale and reducing turnover. Like the Adams equity theory can help managers address perceptions of fairness, making sure employees feel their contributions are valued, that they are heard, that they are seen. Now, it also supports managers in making informed decisions based on how employees perceive and react to different scenarios. Understanding cognitive processes behind decision making will help managers implement changes that are more likely to be accepted by the employees. So let's look at the overall significance to managers, including human resource managers. Like what we're doing now is that we're looking at in what way is the understanding of organizational behavior, the understanding of this organizational behavior theories, in what way is it significant to managers, if especially human resource managers? By understanding and applying these theories, managers can create a work environment that keeps employees engaged, satisfied, and loyal, thereby ensuring employee engagement and retention. Remember yesterday we talked about in talent acquisition in our first class, we talked about attracting talent, retaining talent, attracting talent, developing talent, retaining talents, and deploying talents. And we said a lot about employee engagement, that the benefits are so much. It increases organizational productivity. So when you understand this, you'll be able to apply them, and then you'll be able to create a work environment that will make employees want to stay, thereby reducing turnover rates. Effective use of these theories will also help in setting realistic goals, providing appropriate feedback, and designing appraisal systems that reflect actual performance. It also helps in conflict resolution because insights from these theories can aid in identifying the root cause of conflicts and developing strategies to resolve them. It also helps in organizational development because these theories will provide a framework for continuous improvement and adaptation, helping organizations remain competitive and innovative. Now, I'd like you to know that when we are able to leverage both the variance and process theories as human resource professionals, we can be able to understand, predict, influence employee behavior, leading to improved organizational performance and a more motivated workforce. Having said all of this to this point, do we all understand? If you understand everything I have said, please type 1-1. I want to be sure that I'm carrying everybody along at every point in time. So please, if you understand everything I've shared so far, type 1-1. Yes, Mr. Emmanuel Afolabi, I see your comments. You said I still have the paper. That's good. All right. So does everybody understand what I've shared till this point on the importance of organizational behavior, the characteristics of organizational behavior, the variance theories, the process theories, and how we can apply them and its significance? Do you understand every one of them? Yes, Lady Christie, I see your 1-1. All right. I see the other 1-1s coming in too. Now let's have a class activity in order to buttress what we have said so far. Now, please, write down the names of 3 members of staff in your organization. Don't worry, you won't submit it, so don't be afraid. I will ask you for their names. They are safe with you. Just write it down there in your paper. All right? Then, across each person's name, write down 3 factors that motivates them within your organization. So look at your organization. What are the 3 things? Remember, I asked a question like this yesterday. Yes, Mr. Emmanuel Afolabi, I see your 1-1. Now we're on to class activity. So remember yesterday, I asked you a question about what do you think motivates individuals, employees within your organization. Now pick 3 of them that you are sure of and write down those 3 factors. Now using a table in a scale of 1 to 3, low, moderate, high, assign values to these factors and determine the key factor that drives performance in your organization. Please, I like us to remove the money aspect, all right? Because so that we'll be able to find out other motivators. So remove money out of it. Remove the compensation part. Let's just talk about the other motivators. I'll give you a minute to do that. I hope you understand the assignment. Write the name of 3 members of staff. And when you're done, write out 3 factors that you believe that motivates them within your organization. All right, are we done? Please let me know if you're done in the chat room.
Yeah, I think I can do something now.
All right, that's wonderful. All right, so if you're done, what you did should look a bit like this. Does it look like that? If it doesn't look, just rearrange just very quickly.
Okay. It's almost.
All right, so
Yes.
from your presentation, from your analysis, which of the factors or motivators, which of the motivators are highest for everybody?
I think collaboration. I have collaboration here. That's your engagement,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
All right. So which one is on the second level?
The second, like, I have capacity building.
Okay. And then which one is the lowest?
I have capacity building and mentoring. I have capacity building and mentoring. So I don't know where you put this. I have them on the same level, 2-2. Moderate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. It seems very similar to what we have here. All right. Do we have any other person attempting this? Thank you very much, Lady Christy. I like your engagement in class. All right. Do you have any other person that is attempting this?
Thank you, ma.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So from the one I have here on the screen, you can see that employee engagement in decision-making contributes the most to employee performance. Mr. Emmanuel, are you working on yours?
Yes, I have mine right here. Okay,
All right, let's hear it.
For me, based on what I have here,
okay,
the factor that I see as the highest here is team play and sorry, just give me a moment. Sorry, please.
All right, no problem.
Now, looking at that, my capacity building, it can be grouped under engagement, right?
Capacity building will be more of training and development because they are being trained, they are improving on their capacity. So it's more of yeah.
So what about mentoring? Where do we classify that?
Mentoring. Remember yesterday we talked about a body system. You remember?
Yeah.
Yes. So
yes.
it is there on its own, and it's a very important aspect of employee engagement. So it's under employee engagement, and it's a good one.
Okay.
Well done. Mr. Manuel, are you ready?
Okay, yes, I'm ready now.
All right.
Okay, for me, the capacity building and motivation is the highest for me here.
Okay.
Yes, motivation, like giving them when they do something something commendable, don't not ignoring it, mentioning such, even if it does not come with monetary value, giving recognition for every achievement. So that is the highest.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So you can see that all of them are actually motivations. Okay. In that one you call the motivation is actually recognition and rewards. And you see, similar to what I have on the screen, recognizing what they have done and rewarding accordingly instead of keeping quiet over it, right? Hello, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so all of them are motivation to us, different aspects of motivation, but this one is now recognition and reward. So it's a wonderful work both of you have done. Well done. All right, so others who are in class
Thank you.
can catch up later. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about diagnosis of organizational behavior. In the diagnosis of organizational behavior, it involves systematically analyzing various aspects of an organization to understand how they affect overall performance, employee satisfaction, and organizational effectiveness. It is a systematic process that involves gathering information to identify the strengths and the weaknesses that are impacting an organization's health. Why do we need to do this? Why do we need to diagnose organizational behavior? We do it for various reasons. Example, addressing specific performance issues like low productivity. A time will come in an organization as a human resource management professional, you should be able to sit back and ask yourself, why is there low productivity? Why is there high turnover? Why are people leaving our organization? Is it because we don't know what we're doing? Is it because we know what we're doing, but people don't feel like this can be a good environment for them to thrive? Is it that they don't feel like comfortable? Is it that the workplace culture is toxic and hard? What is the problem? That is why we diagnose. Just like in the medical balance, when somebody comes in and says, I'm having headache, I'm having fever, my joints are paining me, it is you now begin to diagnose to be able to find out what is the actual cause of these symptoms, because the symptom is not the disease. The person has something that's actually the root cause for that. Because when you look at low productivity in an organization, it's not the main problem. There is something underneath that is causing low productivity. Do we get that? So you have to ask yourself, what then is causing this? Why is there high turnover? And that is what will cause you to diagnose the organizational behavior to know, is this behavior okay? Is it a behavior we have to improve on? One we have to sustain, or one we have to let go of. So diagnosis of organizational behavior will also help you to identify areas of improvement, even when things seem to be going well. So as a HRM professional, you should be able to ask yourself, if we're doing well, what is it that we're doing? Okay. It is not only when things go bad that we ask questions. We ask questions even when things are going well. So if we think that we're doing well, we can say, what is the reason behind our doing well? That way we can improve on it. That way we can increase it. That way we can keep doing it so that we can get the expected result. We don't just assume that things are going well and then sit back and then say, oh, wonderful, things are going well, and then we sleep on it. No, if things are going well, we'll now ask ourselves, what is it? What is the secret behind the things that are going well, so that we can do more of it in order to achieve more results. Now, we have to diagnose so that we can gain a deeper understanding of the organization's overall health and be sure that our organization is healthy. Now, if we want to diagnose, what are we going to diagnose? Are we going to call people and begin to check their temperature? An organizational diagnosis typically focuses on several key aspects. Number one, we look at the structure, how the organization is designed, including the departments, the hierarchies, and the reporting lines. We also look at the culture, the shared values, the beliefs, the behaviors that influence how people work We also look at the leadership, effectiveness of leaders in setting direction, motivating employees, and fostering collaboration. We also look at the communication, how information flows within the organization, both the formal and informal communication. We also look at the motivation, the factors that drive employee engagement and performance. Now, this is a guide to diagnosing organizational behavior. In diagnosing organizational behavior, we have to intentionally look at the set purpose and objectives, data collection, determining key areas of focus, analysis. We have to choose tools and frameworks, reporting, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation. All these things I mentioned now, we're going to look at them in details, one after the other. So let's start from the first one, purpose and objectives. In being able to diagnose organizational behavior, we need to look at the purpose and objectives. What do we mean by that? We have to understand goals. We have to identify the organization's goals and objectives. Who are we? Why do we do what we do? And where are we going? And who do we work with? Who are our partners? Who are our competitors? Who are the people that we need to make our business thrive? Who are our customers? And then we also have to ensure that organizational behaviors align with these goals. On the subject of data collection, we have to use surveys and questionnaires to gather information from employees about their perceptions, attitudes, and experiences. We have to conduct one-on-one or group interviews to gain deeper insights into why people act the way they act, why individuals behave the way they behave within our organization, and even why certain people in certain groups behave in a certain way. Apart from that, we also have to observe interactions and behaviors within the organization. Why do they do what they do? Observe who are the key leaders, who are the ringleaders, who are the ones who take charge. Then we also have to analyze organizational documents, such as policies. Are people okay with the policies? Are the policies such that make people unhappy? Does it reduce the employee engagement? Is it something that contributes to turnover rate? So we have to analyze all of those policies and procedures and even performance reports. Now, focus is one of the things that we talked about in diagnosing organizational behavior. We have to determine key areas of focus, especially individual behavior. Assess individual performance, motivation, job satisfaction, and engagement. We have to examine team cohesion, communication, conflict resolution, and collaboration. We also have to review the organizational hierarchy, departmental interactions, and the workflow. We also need to evaluate leadership styles, effectiveness, and impact on employee behavior. We also have to look at culture, understand the organizational culture, the values, the norms, and then processes and systems. Analyze key processes, decision-making procedures, and information flow. So in order to determine key areas of focus, we have to look at individual behavior, we have to look at group dynamics, we have to look at organizational structure, we have to look at leadership, we have to look at culture, and we have to look at processes and systems. All of this in order to understand organizational behavior. That brings us to analysis. In analysis, we identify patterns. We have to look for patterns and trends in collected data. What is common? Why people in this particular department, why did they do the same thing over and over again? Why is the behavior of those in the studio different from those in the front desk? What causes such behaviors? Why is it that those in the front desk are always doing this? Why those in the engine room are always doing that? You know, Root cause analysis. Determine the underlying causes of observed behaviors and issues. Then benchmarking. Compare findings with industry standards or best practices so that we can know how to improve on our organizational behavior. Next that we have to look at is the subject of tools and frameworks. In tools and frameworks, we are looking at the tools and frameworks that are used in understanding organizational behavior. Number one is the SWOT analysis. I'm sure we know what SWOT means. So please, in the comment section, quickly type for me what you understand by SWOT. What is the meaning of SWOT? SWOT. Quickly type in the comments in the chat room. Most of us may have heard of SWOT analysis. So tell me what you understand by that. SWOT. I'm waiting. Beautiful, Mr. Emmanuel. Strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. All right. That's a wonderful one. All right. So that's what it means. Assessing, we have to assess the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Next is the pestle analysis. Yes, thank you, Lady Christie. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's correct. Let's look at the pestle analysis. You know, we always have to also understand that there are certain external factors that affect organizational behavior. These factors are not within the organization, they are outside the organization, hence we call them external factors. These factors include political factors, economic factors, social factors, technological factors, legal factors, and environmental factors. And all of these things impact behavior. Now, I can tell you for sure that there are many people who wanted to be in this class. But I'm sure the economic factor is also affecting them. Not that the economic factor is not affecting those in this class right now, but you chose to write above the economic factor. You saw the value that this class will give you, and you chose that no matter how much it costs, you have to be a part of this class. For some others, they just said, economy is hard though, things are falling everywhere, and they just stayed out of the class. But we will have to understand that these external factors affect organizational behavior. Even in the organization where you work right now, I am sure that there are things you have noticed that started happening with some certain people since things went a bit bad for us in our economy. I'm just using the word a bit just to be polite, but I think it's much more than that. Also, another tool that we can use is the force field analysis. It helps us to identify driving and restraining forces that are affecting change. Another one is the diagnostic models. It's a framework. It utilizes models like McKinsey 7S, Buck-Litwin, and Lewin's change model to structure diagnosis. Then the next thing we have to look at is reporting. When we are done with all of these diagnoses, we need to report. You need to summarize your key findings from the diagnosis. Then make recommendations, provide actionable recommendations for improvement, and develop a detailed action plan with steps, timelines, and responsible parties, people who are supposed to make sure that they do what you have recommended, okay? And then we go over to implementation, because it is not enough for you to report. After the report has been done, which is like what we do most times in our country, plenty reports, but little implementation, little monitoring. There is need to execute the recommended changes and monitor their impact, and then collect ongoing feedback to refine and adjust strategies. After you have done, you don't just say, oh, we are done, we'll stop at that point. In fact, even after implementation and monitoring, you still have to do what we call evaluation. In evaluation, you assess the impact of the changes you have made on organizational behavior and performance, and then you use the evaluation results to foster a culture of continuous improvement. The key word is on continuous. It's not a one-time thing. I'd like you to note that by thoroughly diagnosing organizational behavior, managers can identify areas for improvement, enhance employee satisfaction and performance, and align organizational practices with strategic goals. Now, let's look at another concept under organizational behavior that's called organizational behavior modeling. Organizational behavior modeling involves understanding, analyzing, and influencing the behavior of individuals and groups within an organization. This approach helps in creating an environment where employees can perform optimally and align their actions with organizational goals. For a structured outline on how to model organizational behavior, we're going to define desired behaviors and then assess current behaviors, modeling techniques, reinforcement strategies, communication, cultural alignment, measurement and evaluation, supportive environment. We're going to look at all of this one after the other. These are the more like the structured outline on how to model organizational behavior. Let's look at the first one, which is define desired behaviors. You have to first and foremost determine the core values and behaviors that align with the organization's mission and goals. Because if you don't know what it is that you want for your organization, how will you achieve it? A wise man once said that when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. You need to identify your core values, and after which you will now establish clear standards and expectations for behavior at all levels of the organization. After doing this, then you can assess current behaviors. How do you assess current behaviors? Use surveys, interviews, feedback mechanism to assess current behaviors within the organization. You then have to observe interactions and behavioral patterns within the workplace. After which you analyze performance data to identify behavior-related issues. When you have done this, the next step would be to model the modeling techniques. How do we model this behavior that we want? I'll tell you for free that leaders and managers should exemplify the desired behaviors in their daily actions. All these do what I say, but don't do what I do will not work in any organization now. If you want people to do what you want them to do, you have to do that thing that you want them to do. You have to model it by way of role modeling. You have to show them the way. Because people won't just do what you preach, they will do what you do. You also have to provide training programs, not assume that they know. Provide training programs to develop the desired behaviors among employees. You can even conduct role-playing days. You can say Friday by 1 p.m., break time is a role-playing day where you role-play. You role-play those actions, those things you want people to do within your organization, how they welcome a first-timer into your office, how they welcome a guest, a visitor into the office, how they welcome your business partners and stuff like that. Implement mentorship programs where experienced employees will model and reinforce the right behaviors, especially as it relates to customers. And also as it relates to their colleagues. Because there's this warning as regards to treat your customer right. Your customer is king. But then when we treat customer as king and then treat our colleagues as enemies, there is no way things can work out in that kind of organization. Because the organizational behavior, the way you treat your fellow colleague, might eventually reflect on how you treat your customer. Reinforcement strategies for this organizational behavior include positive reinforcement. Like Ms. Emmanuel was saying in class earlier today, you have to recognize and reward employees who exhibit the desired behaviors. You also have to offer regular constructive feedback to guide employees towards desired behaviors. There is also need to design incentives and reward systems that promote and reinforce positive behaviors. This is how you reinforce the organizational behavior that you want. Also, apart from that, you also have to communicate. Let there be clear communication on the importance of the desired behaviors and how they contribute to organizational success. Keep employees informed about behavioral expectations and any changes in policies. I'd like to ask a question. It's is going to be your personal opinion, so there are no wrong answers. Okay. When NEPA was owned by the government, right? But when it was privatized, individual companies, private companies rather, now own these electricity businesses. Would you say that the organizational behavior improved in any way after private companies took over the electricity, the government electric offices? It's a private, is a personal question. So just tell me what you think in the chat room. Have you been to a NEPA office or AEGC office recently? Or what do they call it in your own area? Disco, different, they have different names because they're privatized now. Do you believe that there was anything now that they bought, after buying the business, was there no need for them to work on this thing we are talking about, organizational behavior?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, go ahead, tell me what you think.
Yeah, I think they should have worked on their customer service approach, because you see they still come around to try to do this. When you go there, at times they don't really attend to you as they should, especially when you want to, okay, I want to get the billing thing. I need to get the, what do you call it now? No, you want to get your, not just the transformer, you want to get your what do you call it, can bill you. But what I'm just trying to say is that the approach has not really changed. It's still the same thing. You understand? You have to keep tipping if you have the money to tip, and if you don't have the money to tip, whatever you're
They will
asking
harass
for
you.
is delayed. In fact, your file, if you have a file, they will disappear. You understand? So it's just still the same. It's only that the name changed, but the activities
The
and their
behavior
modus operandi still remain the
didn't
same.
change.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I agree with you. I've had real encounters with them, and different company, but same old behavior. These ones don't know that customer is king at all. They don't even care. All right, let's continue. Unless we have somebody else who wants to say something. Now, in communication, let's establish open channels for employees to provide and receive feedback regarding behaviors. Now, there's also need for cultural alignment. We have to ensure that the organizational culture supports and encourages the desired behaviors. We also have to regularly assess and adjust the culture to maintain alignment with behavioral goals, and also use symbolic actions and rituals to reinforce desired behaviors. Like when we celebrate achievements, what do we mean? What message are we giving out in the organization? It means that we are interested in results. It means that we, as an organization, we want to see people succeeding. That's why we celebrate achievements. Now, if you come into that organization automatically, just by being in that environment, your mind is activated. You know that I have to achieve, because here, achievements are celebrated. Now, another key aspect is measurement and evaluation. We have to develop metrics to measure the prevalence and impact of desired behaviors. We also need to conduct regular interviews to assess the effectiveness of behavior modeling efforts, and importantly, make necessary adjustments based on feedback and performance data. There's also need for a supportive environment, and we can do this by providing necessary resources and tools to support desired behaviors. We have to create a supportive work environment that fosters positive behavior. Example, it will be open communication, trust, a family kind of system, leaving no man behind, no woman behind, no person behind. Because when you create that kind of environment, it will eventually show and reflect in the kind of organizational behavior that you have in your organization. Implement programs that support employee well-being and promote a positive work-life balance. Yesterday, I was telling us about incorporating programs like bonding programs, outdoor group vacations, and stuff like that. We have to note that organizational behavior modeling is a strategic approach to align employee behavior with organizational goals. By defining desired behaviors, assessing current behaviors, employing effective modeling techniques, and reinforcing positive behaviors, organizations can create a productive and positive work environment. Regular communication, cultural alignment, and continuous evaluation are crucial for sustaining desired behaviors and achieving long-term success. So this is very key in modeling organizational behavior. Now let's look at something else, the relationship between leadership and organizational behavior. How does leadership affect organizational behavior? Leaders set the tone. So leaders should know that intentionally or even unintentionally, deliberately or not deliberately, leaders set the tone for organizational culture and behavior through their actions and decisions. They also model desired behaviors, influencing employees to follow suit. If a leader is the type that's always jest in the workplace, before you know it, everybody will be jesting. Before you know it, some will start quarreling because they did not take the jests down well. You see a leader that is sarcastic, it will also reflect in the people that work with him or her. Leaders play a crucial role in shaping and maintaining organizational culture. And some of them don't even know. But by their body language, the way they behave, the things they say, eventually they are shaping the organizational behavior. Effective leadership motivates employees, leading to higher engagement and productivity. Leaders are also essential in managing organizational change and guiding employees through transitions. Leaders also help in resolving conflicts, fostering a positive work environment. They also know that leadership is key in building cohesive and high-performing teams. Leaders enhance communication within the organization, ensuring that information flows smoothly. So you cannot separate organizational behavior from leadership, because leadership has a very serious role, a very critical role to play in organizational behavior. Now let's look at leadership styles and organizational behavior. Different leadership styles shape the organizational culture by influencing norms, values, and practices. Transformational leaders may foster a culture of innovation, while autocratic leaders may create a culture of compliance. So everybody's complying, but they're not bringing in their innovation and creativity. They are just complying so that they will not be queried or sacked or expelled. Leadership styles also impact employee motivation and satisfaction. Democratic and servant leadership styles often lead to higher motivation and job satisfaction because these people feel like they matter, they feel like they are heard, they feel like they are part of something great. Leadership styles determine the flow of communication within an organization. Open communication is more prevalent in democratic and laissez-faire leadership styles. The approach to decision-making varies with leadership styles, affecting organizational agility and employee involvement. Autocratic leaders make very quick decisions, while democratic leaders involve team members, and as such, the decision is slow because they're trying to carry everybody along. Leaders influence how conflicts are managed within the organization. Servant leaders may focus on mediation and collaboration, while transactional leaders may rely on rules and policies. Leadership styles also affect change management because it affects how change is implemented and accepted into the organization. Transformational leaders are typically more effective at driving and managing change because they help the people to see the greater picture, the big picture, despite what they are feeling. Leadership styles directly impact organizational performance and productivity. Transactional leadership may drive short-term results, while transactional leadership may drive short-term results, while transformational leadership fosters long-term growth and innovation. So these are the ways through which leadership styles affect organizational behavior. It's important to note that by understanding the interplay between leadership styles and organizational behavior, leaders can effectively guide their teams, enhance organizational performance, and create a positive work environment. And let's look at another concept. I hope everyone is following and catching up. Let's look at conflict resolution and organizational behavior. What is conflict resolution? Conflict resolution is the process of addressing and resolving disputes or disagreements within an organization. Now, there are different types of conflict. Number one is interpersonal conflict. This is conflict between individuals. Number two is intrapersonal conflict. This is the conflict within an individual. Another one is intergroup conflict. This is the conflict between groups or departments. Just for the sake of more understanding, I'd like to ask anybody in this class to share with us, what do you understand by intrapersonal conflict? That is the conflict within an individual. What do you understand by that? Because most of us understand interpersonal conflict, we understand intergroup conflict, but for the sake of somebody in this class who may not understand intrapersonal conflict, how can somebody be conflicted within himself or herself? Anyone?
Okay. Can I say something, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Intrapersonal conflict is conflict within yourself. When you are angry with yourself, maybe you are not putting in your best and you feel, why am I not doing the best? I am, I'm supposed to be up here, but I'm not up there. I'm supposed to be doing this, I am not doing it. So there is this conflict, you are working towards getting an A, but you find yourself getting a B and you are not happy. So there's a conflict between you, that, oh, I am supposed to be this, but this is what I am doing. Why am I doing that? I'm angry at myself and all that. So it's an internal conflict, that you deal with.
All right, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Another side to it could be, have we heard of what is called imposter syndrome? When you have that tiny little voice inside of you that is telling you, who are you? Who do you think you are? You're about to make a presentation, and that voice is so loud, so loud. In fact, it's so loud that you think everybody in the room can hear it at the same time. Who are you? Do you think you are capable? Do you think you are qualified for this? Are you sure you are ready? Maybe this should have been given to the other colleague who has more confidence, who has more eloquence. That battle, that conflict within you can also, in fact, you may not necessarily even be all right. So I noticed I'm off. I'm out of the class. Let me try to join back in a moment, please. All right, so can everybody hear me here?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All
Yes,
right,
we can hear
just
you.
give me a minute. Okay, I'm trying to reshare my slide. I just noticed I've been logged up with my system, so I'm trying to join back. Just give me a minute. So while we wait, can anybody share with us amongst all the different types of ways of conflict resolution we just discussed? Which one would you say you have employed the most? Is it collaboration? Is it accommodation? Is it the one of even ignoring the other party entirely? Which one has worked for you more? We talked about different key elements in conflict resolution approaches. We said collaboration, compromise, accommodation, avoidance, and competition. Which one works more for you?
We we have not gotten there. I think maybe that was when the internet took you out.
Oh, okay. So I went
Yeah.
off from that place. Oh,
Yes, before we got there. You went up before you got there.
okay. So let me reconnect and let's do that quickly.
We were talking about interpersonal, intrapersonal, and intergroup.
Oh, did I finish on the imposter syndrome that I talked about?
No, you didn't.
Oh my God. That was so I have talked for almost 5 minutes before I realized I was off. Okay, let me fix that. Just give me a minute. All right, so I am currently logging back into the class so I can share my slides. I should be in less than. All right, I think I'm back in. All right, I am back. Okay. All right, I hope everyone can hear me now. Ooh. For some
Yes.
reason, okay. For some reason, I was logged out. I'm trying to, but I'm back in. But let me try to reshare my slide. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Sometimes it's the Niger factor with all these internet. Okay. So from what I understand, I was logged out while I was trying to explain the intrapersonal conflict, another side to it. So I was saying that the point of view that Lady Christie shared in terms of intrapersonal conflict was wonderful. But I have another side to it, and that side is the imposter syndrome. Did anybody hear me say that earlier before I got logged out?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
I heard that.
Okay, so there's this tiny little voice in your head that's asking you, are you capable? Should you be the one making this presentation? Are you sure you can handle this project? Are you sure you are, it, and sometimes it can be very, very loud that you would even assume that everybody in the room is practically hearing you. But it's just that tiny little voice in your head that is second guessing you, that is making you doubt yourself. And that is an example of conflict within yourself. So from there, we moved on, and I was sharing about the approaches to conflict resolution. So I shared that with you that there's a collaboration approach where there is a win-win, approach where both parties work together to find a mutually beneficial solution. And there's another approach that is compromise. Both parties give up something in order to reach a middle ground. And then another approach that is called the accommodation approach, where one party sacrifices their needs or desires to accommodate the other. And then another approach called the avoidance approach, where we just ignore or avoid the conflict entirely. Now, there's another approach, the competition approach, where it's a win-lose approach, where one party wins at the expense of the other. So these are the approaches to conflict resolution. So let's talk about the relationship between conflict resolution and organizational behavior. Conflict resolution has a way of impacting on the culture of the organization because it can shape the organizational culture. Collaboration and compromise promote a culture of openness and problem solving. But another conflict resolution approach that is called avoidance approach, it can lead to a culture of silence and resentment because people are avoiding each other, okay? You're avoiding the parties or the groups that are giving them problem, resentment will brew. And one day, kasala go bust. Everywhere will just get upturned. There'll be a lot of problems because resentment, as it keeps brewing, one day it will cause a lot of conflict and even fight and quarrel. I don't know how many of you have remember some of the things that happened in uh House of Assemblies and Senate houses where people are running up and down and fighting, and it's a very ugly thing to behold, you know. And I'm sure that it didn't start at that point. People have been brewing with anger, resentment, and keeping quiet about it until it got escalated to that point. Now, effective conflict resolution fosters positive relationships between employees. If there is a very good conflict resolution system going on in the organization, it can improve communication, trust, and teamwork. Resolving conflicts in a fair and timely manner can also increase employee engagement and job satisfaction. It demonstrates that the organization values its employees' well-being. Unresolved conflicts can negatively impact productivity and performance. Effective conflict resolution can lead to a more positive work environment and improved organizational outcomes. Okay, so leadership plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. Leaders who are skilled at managing conflicts can create a more harmonious and productive work environment. We've said these things in different ways already. So, how conflicts are resolved can impact the organization's ability to adapt to change. Collaborative conflict resolution can promote a culture of innovation and flexibility. And we said that where there are transformational leaders, they would be able to mostly utilize this collaborative conflict resolution approach that will eventually promote a culture of innovation and flexibility. Now, resolving conflicts constructively can be a learning experience for employees and even for the managers. It can help them to develop conflict resolution skills and high emotional intelligence. So with that, we wrap up the subject of conflict resolution and organizational behavior. Now that we have understood the relationship between both of them, leaders can implement strategies that promote a positive and productive work environment, enhance employee relationships, and improve organizational outcomes. Do we understand everything that I have shared so far on conflict resolution and organizational behavior? Do we understand it well? Is there any question to that effect?
Understood, ma.
All right. Thank you so much. Lady Christy, are you there?
There, ma. I'm with
All
you,
right.
ma.
All right. So let's look at the concept of team dynamics. Team dynamics refers to the behavioral relationships and interactions that occur within a group of individuals working together to achieve a common goal. It refers to the complex interplay of individual behaviors and personalities and work styles within a team and how these factors affect the team performance. So when we're talking about team dynamics, it involves how team members communicate, collaborate, and influence each other's behavior. Now, there are key elements of team dynamics. Number one is communication. How effectively team members share information, ideas, and their concerns. The next one is collaboration. The ability of team members to work together towards a common goal because they are a team. They are working together with themselves, for themselves, not against themselves. Another one is trust. The belief that team members are reliable, competent, and have each other's backs. Another element of team dynamics is conflict resolution, like we just mentioned, how effectively the team deals with disagreements and challenges. Another element is diversity, the variety of background, skills, and perspectives within the team. They are much, but they should be able to come together and work together to achieve a common goal. And the role of the team leader is in providing direction, motivation, and support. Now, why is it necessary? What is the importance of team dynamics? Team dynamics, when understood and done well, will enhance performance. It leads to improved productivity and performance. It will also generate innovative ideas and solutions because the team are working together. Positive team dynamics will also contribute to higher job satisfaction and engagement, and it will help in resolving conflicts quickly and effectively because they also influence the overall culture of any organization. So let us talk about the characteristics of positive team dynamics. Of course, if we are saying that there is positive team dynamics, it equally means that there is negative team dynamics. So, but we are focusing on the positive, right? So let's talk about the positive team dynamics. What are the characteristics? Team members are engaged and motivated. They are productive and they are efficient. They are creative and they are innovative and they are satisfied with their work. So let's talk about the strategies. If we know that these are the characteristics, this is what we see when there is a positive team dynamic. How then do we build a positive team dynamics? Number one, we have to foster open communication and trust among team members. We have to establish clear roles, goals, and expectations. We also have to encourage collaboration and respect for diverse viewpoints and treat everybody like they are heard, like they matter, like they mean, they are part of this team, like they are valued, okay? Irrespective of where they're coming from, irrespective of their diversity, their race, their age, their capabilities, or disabilities, making everyone feel welcome. We have to also provide opportunities for team building and bonding activities. We said this a lot yesterday under employee engagement. We also have to promote a culture of continuous feedback and learning, as learning never stops. The impact of team dynamics on organizational performance and organizational behavior. We need to understand that positive team dynamics will lead to increased productivity, creativity, and innovation. It will improve employee morale, job satisfaction, and retention. It will also solve complex problems more efficiently and make better decisions. Strong team dynamics contribute to a positive organizational culture and reputation. Now, let's look at two concepts together: organizational culture and organizational behavior. Organizational culture refers to the shared values, beliefs, norms, and behaviors that shape the way work is done and the way people interact within an organization. This is very, very key because it is often described as the personality of the organization. So while we are looking at organizational behavior, we should also know that the culture of that organization is referred to as the personality of that organization. All right, so let's look at the elements of organizational culture. What are the key elements of organizational culture? Values. Values are the core principles that guide the organization, that guide how the organization operates. This could be things like innovation, customer focus, or teamwork. Another element of organizational culture is belief, convictions, and assumptions that are widely held and shared among members. Another one is norms, unwritten rules or codes of conduct that define acceptable behavior. There are also objects, actions, events that represent the organization's values and identity. Another one is the rituals and ceremonies. These include the formal or informal activities that reinforce or celebrate the organization's culture. Let's look at another element of organizational culture, which is the attitude and the behaviors. The attitudes are general feelings and perspectives employees have about their work, their colleagues, and their organization. The behaviors are the way employees actually conduct themselves, reflecting the underlying values and belief systems. Now, let's talk about the different types of organizational culture. Number one is the clan culture. The clan culture emphasizes collaboration, teamwork, and a family-like atmosphere. It values employees' well-being and development. Now, another type of organizational culture is what we call the adhocracy culture. It emphasizes innovation, creativity, risk-taking, and it values entrepreneurship and flexibility. The other type is the hierarchy culture. Emphasis is on stability, control, efficiency, and rules. Processes and coordination and positions are very, very emphasized and valued in this kind of culture. Another one is the market culture. Emphasis is on competitiveness. They see themselves like everybody's here to fight for dominance, all right? Who is going to win? Who is going to achieve? Who is going to give the results? Who is meeting the mark? Who is meeting the targets, all right? It values customer satisfaction and market dominance. So why is organizational culture important? It is important for the same reasons that organizational behavior is equally important, because it increases employee engagement. A strong culture can lead to higher levels of employee engagement and satisfaction. It can also impact organizational performance and success. It can attract and retain top talent. It also influences how decisions are made and implemented within the organization, and it can affect organizations' ability to adapt to change and innovate. So what do we do in order to build and sustain organizational culture? Leaders have to play a crucial role in shaping and promoting organizations' culture. There is need for clear and consistent communication of values and expectations in the organization. This is very important, because if you don't train them, don't blame them. If they don't know how, if you're not saying it, they won't do it. All right. And I want you to know that people don't do what you expect, they do what you inspect. If you want a particular culture or behavior to be prevalent within the organization, celebrate it, communicate it. Every time somebody does it right, talk about it. That way you are reinforcing it, and you too practice it. It's really not complicated. Involving employees in the development of culture can increase buy-in and commitment. We've said this before. Recognizing and rewarding behaviors that align with the culture reinforces desired values. And there is need for consistency in actions and decisions that will help to reinforce the culture over time. As it applies to organizational behavior, it also applies to organizational culture. Now, let's begin to round up gradually as we talk about communication. Communication in an organization is the process through which information, ideas, and instructions are exchanged between individuals or groups to achieve business objectives. Effective communication is crucial for the smooth operation of any organization and involves multiple components, channels, and strategies. Now, there are very key components of organizational communication. Anytime that there is communication within the organization, there are key components that we must take a look at. And one of those components is what we call the sender. The sender is the person or group initiating the communication. The next component is message. Message talks about the information, the idea, and instruction being communicated. The next is channel, the medium through which the message is transmitted, whether it is an email, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's phone, whether it is a letter. Okay, these are different channels. Whether somebody was sent to deliver the message to somebody else, like that. Another component is the receiver. This is the person or group that are receiving the message. Feedback. This is very important. The response or reaction of the receiver to the message. Now, context, the environment or situation in which the communication takes place. And then there is noise. This noise is any interference that may hinder the communication process. This could be physical noise, it could be language barriers, it could be misunderstanding, it could even be the psychological situation of the person sending the message or receiving the message. Because sometimes the way we are feeling, sad, pained, distressed, it can serve as noise and distract from the real message and interfere with the understanding, the feedback that can be gotten from the communication. So there are types of organizational communication. The first one is internal communication. In internal communication, we have different types. The vertical communication flows up and down the organizational hierarchy. Upward communication, this is communication from subordinates to superiors. They come in form of reports, they come in form of feedbacks. Then there's downward communication from superiors to subordinates. They come in form of instructions, they come in form of policies. Then there's horizontal communication. This is information that flows between employees or colleagues within the same department and are who are at the same level. This could also be communication between teams. Then there's diagonal communication. This involves cross-functional communication between different levels and departments. That is, example, a marketing manager communicating with a finance analyst concerning their next marketing program or outreach for the organization. That's an example. Now let's talk about external communication. External communication is communication with external stakeholders, such as the customers, suppliers, investors, and the public. So this is communication between the organization and external stakeholders, all right? So an example is marketing campaigns, customer service, press releases, all right? Even CSR, communication for CSR and stuff like that. These are external communications. And let's talk about the channels. Remember, we talked about channels is the pathway, the means through which these messages get to people or persons or people within the organization. Now we have formal channels. A formal channel is the official pathway for information flow within the organization. This involves memos, reports, official meetings, emails, and newsletters. Now we also have the informal channel, which is unofficial ways of sharing information, often referred to as the grapevine. This could come in form of casual conversations, social interactions, and rumors. Okay, so let's talk about modes of communication. There is a verbal mode, there is a non-verbal communication mode, there is a written communication mode, and there's a visual communication mode. Now let's talk about the verbal communication mode. This involves face-to-face meetings, telephone conversations, video conferences. In all of these, words are important. Now, non-verbal communication, we have body language. So somebody may not be saying something, but may be showing a certain body language that suggests that something is not okay. It could also be a facial expression. It could also be a gesture or posture. Now let's talk about the written communication, emails, letters, reports, memos. We know these ones and we're used to them. Visual communication, charts and graphs, diagrams, slide presentations like the one I'm using in this class, videos. These are all different types, modes of communication. Now let's talk about the importance of effective communication. We have emphasized throughout this class that there is great need for us to have communication. Without communication, organizational culture will not be possible. Without communication, organizational behavior will not be possible because there is need to communicate all of these things. So let's look at why is it important. Effective communication within the organization is important for clarity and understanding. It ensures that messages are clearly understood and reduces the likelihood of misunderstanding. It facilitates coordination of activities and efforts across different parts of the organization. It also provides necessary information for informed decision-making and helps in motivating employees and boosting their morale through recognition and feedback. It also helps in resolving conflict and misunderstanding by promoting open dialogue. Effective communication encourages the sharing of ideas and fosters an innovative environment. However, there are barriers to effective communication. And what are these barriers? Some of them could be physical barriers like geographical distance, like poor infrastructure, noise from neighboring offices, factories, and then there's language barriers. Like somebody might be saying something, and the person is saying chin chin cho, and you're not understanding what the person is saying. Differences in language or jargon used within the organization. Another one could be psychological barriers, prejudices. Maybe somebody has something against somebody in their mind. They've judged this person, they've concluded. Another one is stereotypes. Is it not a woman? Because it's a woman, that's how they behave, that's how they say what they're saying, but that's not really the case. An emotional state, somebody's not feeling well, somebody's feeling depressed, or has been jilted, or has been betrayed. All of this can affect the way our messages are interpreted. And then organizational barriers, hierarchical structure, bottlenecks, lack of communication channels, and rigid policies. This can actually affect communication. And then differences in cultural norms, values, and practices. Okay, like usually the Asians, they could give you water to wash your hand, or the Jews, they will give you water to wash your hands or your legs. Somebody else will say, oh, do they think I'm dirty? Why would they give me water to wash my hand? Do they think my hands are dirty or my feet are dirty? That's a barrier to communication, because there are differences in what culture and norms. I remember when I traveled to South Korea in 2011, it was time to eat and everybody just sat on the floor, and I was like, what? I don't know, chairs or tables or stuff like that. But that was how they did theirs. Everybody had to sit down on the floor. They felt that was being more comfortable and grounded. Okay, so let's talk about strategies for improving communication. If you want to improve communication between individuals in the organization, or even between groups, or between managers and employees, there is need for active listening, encouraging and practicing active, attentive, and engaging listening. Okay, there is need to keep messages straightforward and to the point, clear and concise messaging. There is also need for open door policy, a pattern where you encourage open and honest communication between all levels of the organization. As human resource management professionals, we are always encouraged to have an open door policy. That way we can hear information that will help us to make better decisions within the organization. We can also implement systems for regular feedback and response. In some organizations, you see suggestion box. They keep it somewhere in the office or at the door. So that way anybody can make suggestions. Then there's also use of technology, leveraging communication technologies to facilitate and streamline information flow. Then also providing communication skills training to employees. That way we can also promote a culture where all voices are heard and respected. Okay. So to conclude this class, I've been on a speed lane trying for us to meet the 4:30 mark, which we have missed by 10 minutes. I'd like to conclude this session by reminding us that we explore the fascinating field of organizational behavior. We learned about the many factors that influence how people think, feel, and act in organizations. And we're able to say that by understanding these factors, we can create a more positive and productive work environment for everyone. So our key takeaway today is that organizational behavior is the study of human behavior in a work setting, and it helps us understand how individuals, groups, and organizations function. And by understanding these factors, we can improve employee satisfaction, employee motivation, and performance within the organization. At this point, we have come to the end of this session. And I want to say thank you, and thank you again to everyone who was part of this class from the beginning till now. Thank you for your contributions, especially Lady Christy and Mr. Emmanuel Afolabi. I really appreciate your interaction and attention in this class. Thank you, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of the evening. Please, if you have any question, we have our executive director around, Dr. Banito. He'll be here to address any concerns and also to give you the announcements that you need to take home. Thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma, for a beautiful presentation.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Banito.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ifeoma, for this wonderful session. Dr. Islam. Right.
Hello?
We appreciate. Can you hear me?
Hello, we can't really hear you.
What did that mean? Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Mr.
Okay.
Damilola. Okay,
Yes.
over to Mr.
I'm the
Damilola,
one.
our PRO. Welcome. All
Thank
right.
you.